All right, folks, good morning. I think we all know each other, but just in case for the record, I'm Pat Davis, City Councilor in District 6 in Albuquerque. Thank you all for joining us this morning. It's the kickoff of summer, and I couldn't think of a better time to make a big announcement like this. After more than a year of work with the scooter industry, with local businesses, talking to community groups about better ways to improve transportation and just make getting around better and more fun, finally, getting around Albuquerque got a lot easier and a lot cooler starting today. I'm very excited to announce that 6 months after we passed our shared transportation scooter legislation last year, the city has finally issued our first permit to Zagster, who's going to be operating our program here in the city of Albuquerque. And we're joined today by Dan Grossman, the CEO of Zagster, who's going to be operating that along with their folks at Spin. You know, here's the thing. We've been talking for a long time in Albuquerque about making our city cooler, more accessible, particularly for young people, and how to make transit more accessible, not just for people who already use it, but to get people out of their cars. We're taking huge steps to lower Albuquerque's carbon footprint, and this is a huge part of those initiatives. These scooters are perfect for people who just want to use it, whether you're at the university to run to the grocery store or to go out to eat, to go run errands, or if you're like me and live just a little too far out of Central to get onto public transit that's accessed there. This is a great way to close that last public mile, to get on one of these, access public transit, and access all our city has to offer. And if you've been to any other city where these are used, you know that they're incredibly popular with millennials and young folks who see this as an alternative to having to buy a car, having to pay all that, and quite frankly, a more environmentally conscious and sustainable opportunity for transit. And so I couldn't be more proud that after a year of work, that we're finally today seeing hundreds of the Spin scooters out on the street operated by Zagster. And Dan, I'm so glad you're here with us. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Dan Grossman from Zagster.
Hey everybody, it's hard for me to add to that. You never want to follow a politician, but there's probably a couple things I can talk about, and that is the deployment. And so Zagster is so excited to be here today deploying our Spin scooters. The deployment will take us to 750 by the beginning of July. We are deploying 250 today in the downtown area, Nob Hill, and the international districts. We have a map over here that'll display more closely the launch locations. It's the right time to be here in Albuquerque. I think when you think about commutes and congestion, this is the right sort of resource in the category of micromobility to go along with our bikes. We've been here since 2015, and we built the bike fleet up to 250 in 50 stations, and so this really complements, I think, what we've started, which is a great partnership with the city, and we hope to continue to see more development as the future goes on. So thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Thanks. Yep. You want to talk about how you guys address those?
Yeah, so there are some of these scooters right now that are locked, and I had, after the president, go ahead and shake them and try to pick them up, and an alarm will go off, and it'll become kind of an uncomfortable experience. There's not much you can do with it, and so we can remotely lock and set alarms and do some things when we know that a scooter is missing, and we'll know that. We have the technology to see when a reservation's over and if a scooter's kind of off the grid in an area, and we have the ability to shut it down. So you could absolutely pick it up, but it would have such a limited use. It would be something that you could look at but not necessarily use.
Yeah, I don't think it'll take long. The first person who tries it, the word will get out pretty quickly. Like, you take this, then what do you do with it, right? The alarm goes off, you can't use it without operating
and
it.
We'll know where it is. Like, we're
exactly.
not going to go into your garage and take it, but we'll know specifically where it is. And so it is not a major problem. We don't anticipate that. And just to add flavor to that, we every evening remove all the scooters, so the scooters do not stay out all night long. We take the scooters off by 7 o'clock every night and then start deploying them for use at 7 a.m. in the morning. So it's kind of that evening area that we realize that don't need to be out, and I think that will preserve the inventory.
Can you guys talk about how
Sorry.
fast these scooters go?
Yeah, top speed is 15 miles an hour. A full range on a charge is about 1 to 2 hours depending on usage, and typically they're going to get 3 to 5 use a day per scooter, and these are shorter trip types. So the initial rate is $1 to unlock a scooter, and it's 15 cents a minute, and so you start seeing trips into kind of the 3 to 10 minute category.
So do you guys have people in the city who are bringing scooters back to the night?
Yeah, great question, and that's I think important for the city, for really the city of Albuquerque. We are bringing economic development to the city. We're hiring between 35 and 40 locals to work for Zagster and to manage the program. The program runs 24 hours a day. So we have people that work all night to charge them, people that deploy them in the morning, people that start at 5 p.m. and will bring the scooters back to our warehouse. So as I said, Nob Hill, downtown, the international districts is the initial deployment, and I think we'll work with the city to find other areas that make sense.
Yes, sir.
18, and so during the sign-up process, you'll scan, and you'll download the Spin app, and you'll scan your driver's license, but 18 is the minimum requirement.
What are the numbers that you were talking about earlier? How many scooters will be downtown in Albuquerque?
Yeah, so the initial deployment will ramp up to 750 in July. And so once you start seeing usage, like we can put them in an area and then they'll start getting used, and so they'll be deployed kind of all over the city. You know, they're not allowed to end a reservation on the university campuses, so those are kind of restricted areas as we call them, and so you'll have to end your reservation outside of campus.
Jessica? Let me come back to Jessica real quick, and then we'll come back.
Well, I know that there were a couple of scooter companies that actually
Yep.
told Albuquerque they wouldn't come here because they thought the rules Albuquerque place was onerous. Do you have any concerns about the rules that Albuquerque has implemented for this program?
So, and I appreciate that question, and I've been in shared mobility for 11 years with companies like Zipcar. When they were a startup, I helped create Maven for General Motors. The last 2 years I've been at a Ford-owned company called Chariot, and the reason I've been able to, sustain a career in shared mobility is I partner with cities, and I work with companies that partner with cities. And when you partner with cities, you can be a part of crafting regulation. If you're not partnering with cities to craft regulation, you're then reacting to regulation, and that's a very different thing. Mm-hmm. So I believe that with our relationships with the city and during our discussions, I think we've come up with a policy that's fair and right for the city and fair and right for Zagster and Spin.
And just for folks who don't know the history on that, it's a great follow-up to Jessica. I think the reason we're so excited to partner with Zagster on this is because we know each other already. Zagster's been operating our Pace Bike Share program in Albuquerque through Mr. Cog for a number of years. And so as we developed this process, and some of you remember those long city council meetings where we sort of talked through these things, we were able to talk about new companies looking at Albuquerque. But at the end of the day, it's a company who knew our market, who had been incredibly successful with shared transportation here already. And they looked at this as an opportunity to be sort of a market leader in our city. And I think that says an awful lot, as Dan says, about sort of those partnerships. We laid the groundwork for this years ago, and when this became a new thing, I think it's not a coincidence that we look to a partner who knows how to make this work, who knows our market, and it says a lot that they believe they can put 750 scooters eventually in our city to serve the market, and there's enough work for that. I'm excited. I think that's true. But I think it also says a lot about the fact that we've been laying the groundwork for sustainability and expanding transportation for years, and we continue to add new things as they come online. So, 3, 2, 1. Hey. Welcome to Albuquerque. Yep. I'm going to pass this off really quickly. Want to take a ride with us? Yeah. We'll do our inaugural ride. We'll go this way.